beautiful people, and welcome to a Smackdown slash NXT slash breaking news edition of the Hollywood Heels podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, the rock star, the Renaissance man, the Duke Russo, and I am here with my dog, the divine voice, Henron. What's up, my dog?
My dog. Thank you so much for the warm welcomes. Once again, we return to bless you all with our voices. We do have some good action. We also have some sad news starting this episode off here. We do have a list of releases, a couple names that we will no longer see within the company. I'll just run through a few of them and we can comment on some of the names after the list. I'm noting here Dolph Ziggler, one person not released, part of the cuts, probably released for other reasons. Matt Riddle, Mustafa Ali, the Maximum Male Models, Mason Mansoor, Shelton Benjamin, Emma and Madcap / Riddick Moss, Elias, Dabba-Kato, Dana Brooke, Eric Bugenhagen, aka Rick Boogs, aka God Boogs himself, Top Dollar, Aaliyah, Tegan Knox, Shanky, Quincy Elliott, Bryson Montana, Yulia Leone, Daniel MacArthur, Kevin Ventura Cortez, and Alexis Gray. What you got any comments on those releases, sir?
I mean, the one that hurts me the most is Boogs, because I was a big Boogs fan, booging out. He had so many impressive moments, lifting people, blowing out his knee, lifting people, all sorts of shit. The dude was hilarious. I'll admit that maybe his character left a little bit to be desired, but I really don't think that was on him. I think the dude's hilarious, and what he was given to work with, he killed it. Elias had moments. Dolph Ziggler, I think it was just time. Again, I don't think Bro was released part of these cuts. Like you said, I think this was just a PR nightmare that they didn't want to deal with. Emma was interesting, but like they didn't really use her since she came back anyway. But yeah, man, Boogs is the one that like I shed a tear for. So R.I.P. Boogs' WWE career this time around.
Yeah, I feel like Boogs was a guy that they liked as well. Kind of wacky, real buff. You know, they love that meat. So I don't know why. You know, I guess they didn't really use him too much. But Boogs it out, man. He was great. A lot of these names on here were, you know, people not used, people that have been around for a while that haven't really been used. You know, Ziggler, Benjamin, Dana Brooke, who was just in a storyline on NXT, and now that's gone. Some of these people were just in the middle of storylines, like Mustafa Ali. So, you know, I'm interested to see how they cut that in there. I saw Emma commenting, because I believe she's from Australia, and they're going to Perth or Perch or something like that. Perth, I believe. Yeah. And I guess that's in Australia, so that sucks for her.
I saw her tweet. She was like, "Oh man, this is a dream come true." And then her next tweet was, "Oh, never mind, I've been released."
Yeah, like that's wild. And then Top Dollar, like, did the other two get released? What are the names? Ashanti the Adonis, maybe, and I don't know the girl's name.
They're still there, I think.
That's interesting to just get rid of another member of the group when you don't even use the other two. Like, I don't know. And a lot of these other names I'm not super familiar with. Quincy Elliott, I believe there was real life drama there as well, but I don't know.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a sad turn. But it had been rumored that the cuts were coming, and I know you and I had talked about it. Like, hey, maybe it was only on the back end. Maybe it wasn't going to be a huge amount of talent cuts. I don't think this is an instance where they cut talent to save money to bring in more talent. I think that this was just trimming the fat, so to speak. I guess the most surprising one for me was Mustafa Ali, because of the fact that like the dude has had a title match against Dom coming up at No Mercy, and he's gotten pretty hefty pushes before in the company, has had some decent fights, is young, buff for a small dude. That was, I guess, the most surprising one for me.
Yeah, I'd 100% have to agree with you. I know there was some issues with him in the past not being utilized, and then they'd sent him back to this NXT role, and he'd been a lot more prevalent in the company, but very surprising indeed.
Yep. So wish all of those people the best. I am sure some of them will be picked up, whether it be I don't really see AEW picking up any of these people. Maybe Emma, just to make some sort of interesting storyline with Saraya, since like there's a little Saraya Tony Storm thing going on. I don't know. I don't see any of them ending up there. Maybe New Japan. I could actually see Riddle ending up in New Japan, to be honest with you.
That would be nice to see. Let's see, and I don't know their drug policies over there, right? But let's see that he'd have some great matches. He'd hit the hell out of some people.
Yeah, so wish all those folks the best. Definitely gonna miss Boogin out, but that's part of the business, folks. So let's start it off with our NXT match card from this past Tuesday. We had a handful of matches on this one, finishing up some of the Global Heritage bracketing. So we opened the show with Tyler Bate versus Butch in Group A of the Global Heritage Invitational. Butch gets the win here to head on to the finals. Next up, we had a Group B match between Joe Coffey and Duke Hudson. Duke Hudson collects the victory there for a solid 2 points. This was followed by Roxanne Perez versus Lola Vice. Roxanne Perez comes out on top in this one. Next up, we had our champion versus champion match. Carmelo Hayes versus Dirty Dom Mysterio. Ultimately, Ilya Dragunov ended up interfering and attacking Dom from behind, handing him the win via DQ. After that, we had a triple threat match to decide who was advancing to the finals from Group B. So we had Joe Coffey versus Duke Hudson versus Nathan Frazier. Winner advances to the finals. Coffey hit Hudson with all the best for the bells, with Frazier out of the ring to collect the victory. So we have Joe Coffey versus Butch in the finals. And then our main event from this show was a tag match that was set up earlier in the show. A somewhat, I suppose, unlikely pairing between Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria versus Tiff Stratton and Kiana James. Becky and Lyra win the match, but after the match, Tiff attacked Becky and Lyra with a chair, and this pushed Becky after the match to grab the mic and make their title match at No Mercy officially an Extreme Rules match. Starting at that main event, man, like, I actually kind of liked Becky and Lyra together.
Yeah, it was a fun little tag team. And even Tiffy on the other side with Kiana, they weren't bad either. You know what I'm saying? They were working well together. I'm eager to see this new title match as well. Extreme Rules, though, is that just a no disqualification hardcore match? I don't know exactly what that means. Are they going to tell us what the Extreme Rules are? But should be fun either way.
Yeah, and I'm not thrilled about the rematch because, like, I have a bad feeling that Tiff's gonna win this one, and it's just gonna put the title back on her. And aside from giving Becky the Grand Slam, for that to happen, to me, it's like, why did we even do this then?
Yeah, I feel like I thought we were going to get a multi-women's match because we have a women's showcase tournament or something coming up here soon, which should be good. and we were talking about spicing up the women's division on NXT. We were talking about it was getting a little bit bland. So it's nice that they're putting in some new talent, getting some new names in there, mixing things up a little bit. That should be interesting. But yeah, I think they're just going to give the belt back to Tiffany, and they just wanted to give Becky her Grand Slam and also put some more publicity on NXT for a little bit in the meantime.
Yeah, I would have really been into a Becky Lynch, Tiffany Stratton, Kiana James triple threat for that belt. I feel like that would have gone over really well, and obviously there's history there between them. I was kind of hoping that it would go that route, but I guess a good takeaway from this is for them to pair Becky with Lyra. They feel really good about Lyra, so. I don't know. As far as talking about the women's division in NXT we do have some holes in the main roster as well. Maybe Lyra could be used in one of them. We'll see.
Yeah, I think she's on her way up. I think if we're talking main roster names, didn't she beat Dana Brooke? She got in a fight with Rhea Ripley, who's basically giving her the props, and she's been on a roll ever since they kind of started giving her a little bit of a push. So I do think we'll probably see some more action of her on the main roster. She might be Becky's new friend, because who knows does Becky have any friends right now, like on the main roster? I don't think so. Not at this point, since what's her name, Lita's not around.
I don't think so. And that's been my kind of complaint about how they've been handling Becky and Seth, ironically together on the main roster, is because neither of them really have friends, and it's just like they're on an island on their own right now. Yeah, I think Lyra would make a fantastic quote unquote friend for Becky up on the main roster. How do you feel about this upcoming finals between Joe Coffey and Butch?
Excited. At first, I thought we were going to see just a 4-way heritage match, and I was like, that's going to be weird. Like, it's already got rules, and you're going to put 4 people in it. I figured we would get a 4-way for the actual like A versus B, but they just sprung it on us and gave us a triple threat into Joe Coffey versus Butch. I figured Joe Coffey was going to win that side of the bracket. I thought Tyler Bate might have taken the victory. But I guess since they brought Butch back down here, they've been really trying to give him a little bit more of a push as well, which is good. I'm glad they're utilizing him. I see this all as an opportunity for Joe Coffey. I feel like they're just trying to, strengthen another heel to run this, quote unquote UK division, because I guess that's what it is now with this Heritage Cup since they got rid of the UK title. But I would like to see Butch win, bring that Heritage Cup to SmackDown, and let's put some light on it, put some more respect on it. But I don't think that that's where this is going to go. Yeah,
I'm not sure about that, but I will say that I have to give Butch mega props for burning the candle on both ends. Dude, he's been on both SmackDown and NXT a lot for the last, what feels like 2-3 months at this point. Dude must be exhausted.
For sure. And then Becky too,
Yeah. So what else you got for NXT?
Let's see. I'll just kind of glance what I had going through here at the top. We do got some tag team matches coming up. We do got Scripps, who looks like he's the manager / talker for who's at Bronco, Nima, and Lucian Price. They look like they could be a fun tag team. We'll see how well they work in the ring, but it looks like the Dawn is holding some type of meeting at the table, which is basically going to be a tag team tournament leading into a match at No Mercy likely. So we'll see where that leads into. Interesting to see what's going on there. We got Thea Hale, we spent a whole segment seeing her, go get an outfit change, but we don't get to see the outfit until next week. So we're slowly seeing the shift in Miss Hale into...
It's going to be leather. It's definitely going to be the leather.
She kind of jacked too, so I hope it's not something that, looks weird. She's like kind of jacked, so.
She is super jacked. It's weird seeing her and JC next to each other. And I still don't know how I feel about that pairing, but if it leads to like a legitimate women's faction, the main roster needs another legitimate women's faction. So if they want to build that up, like, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they rope in Blair Davenport, who's kind of beefing with Gigi Dolan, but we know Gigi's got mad beef with JC, so maybe we get like a 3-woman attack, and then I don't know. Or do we got War Games soon? Because we get a 3-woman attack, and then you got Lola Vice and her little friend, and they could, team up against Roxanne, who ends up, being friends with the Good Girls. We did another women's War Games. That'd be the only way I could see them putting 5 women together that we care about. I'm sure we could find 5 more women that we're happy to see, but.
Yeah, and it does spice up the women's division a bit, and they're really in dire need of some sort of women's faction. So I think we're on the way to having one.
And speaking of factions, Joe Gacy, I didn't see the Tag Boys, the Dyad, and I forget their names, with Jagger Reed and somebody else. I know their contracts were supposed to be up, or they were trying to get out of their contracts and they wouldn't let them, so they had to wait it out, and their contracts were supposed to end after they lost to the Creed brothers. Are they gone now? I didn't see their names on any releases, but on this episode, Joe Gacy was there with The Rock's daughter, and he's talking about, it's just us, we're all alone now, and they're trying to get Trick Willie to join their gang now. So that's something that's going on. They get a match next week.
Yep.
But really, that's kind of the highlights of NXT. My notes on a few of the events and some of the matches. Why did it take Lyra so long to come out and save Becky? Like, she told her earlier, I got your back. They acknowledged it in the backstage segment. Commentary's confused, like they really thought this was about to be a 2v1. And you should have came out right behind your friend. How are they had to walk past her at some point. It literally makes no sense. That backstage area before you walk out is not that big. So she was kind of slacking a little bit, but I guess she came back. They hit a nice, cute little double leg drop while the opponent was hanging over the ropes. I thought that was a cute little segment. We did get the beef between Dragunov and Mello leading into their title match coming up as well. And I think I might be leaning towards what you were saying about Dragunov winning and finally taking that title. We did get Dom having the victory here, so we'll see how that plays into things as well, because he quote unquote has a victory over the NXT champion now. So
yeah, thanks to Dragunov.
Very interesting. But that's all I really. Oh, and next week we have a strap match between Dijak and Thorpe, which should be interesting. I don't think it's gonna be as good as the Ricky Starks Bryan Danielson match, but it could be good.
Yeah, some of these like rule stips, because of how a Wild West the AEW can be at times, which coming off a Grand Slam, that didn't work out so well for them in certain moments. Just saying. I'm sorry, but like the Danielson Starks strap match, like Danielson full crimson mask and whatnot, like that just adds to it. Those guys are just willing to go so far, and I think that these guys are too, but like, will the company let them is more my question.
Yeah, Dijak is crazy. Like before he joined WWE, I believe he was out in like PWG and all that other stuff. He was putting on some bangers with Keith Lee. And then they were trying to reenact those when they both joined NXT, which they put on some great matches. I don't know if they put anything on as intense as what they did, before they joined the company, because obviously they were much more limited. They had the restraints on them at that point. But I do think that they might go a little hard in this match. I don't think we're going to see blood, but it is a strap match, so I would say we'd likely see them beat the shit out of each other. Eddie Thorpe did say, I'm going to what did he say? Tear the skin off of your body like you tore the bark off of this tree. Because at one point, Dijak was just using his belt to whip a tree, just knocking the bark off. It was great.
Yeah, yeah. And then we had that promo of him like, sobbing basically at the tree, like looking at the bark. And yeah, it's they've built this one up well. I'll give him that for sure.
Nice little background story, but go on.
No, that's all I got for NXT. Let's move on to Smackdown. All right, so this is the September 22nd edition of Smackdown, coming from not Phoenix, Arizona, Glendale, Arizona, because I know that shit's literally like 10, 15 miles away from my house. No, I didn't go because it's SmackDown. If it was Raw, I totally would have went, even though I knew Cena was going to be there and I knew that we had the Io Asuka match. I didn't go because A, it's past my bedtime, and B, because I knew it would be exactly what it was. 3 fucking matches and a whole bunch of segments that mostly don't even happen out in the ring. So like, why do I need to go to see that? Sad to say, but it's true. Our match card was LWO, represented by Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar, versus the Street Profits Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, much to the dismay and disappointment of the almighty Bobby Lashley. LWO pick up the win via pinfall after Lashley was trying to help. Then we had our match that I don't understand why it was not the main event. There was a lot of weird things with this SmackDown. I don't understand why this was not the main event. Io Sky versus Asuka for the WWE Women's Championship and still champion. Io Sky hits the over the moonsault to get the pin. And lastly, we had our main event, a match that was set up during the episode. A-Town Down Under, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller versus the Brawling Brutes, represented by Butch and Ridge Holland. A-Town Down Under wins the match after an A-Town down to Ridge. So that was the short part of the show, the 3-match part of the show. You got any comments on that?
No, man. Let's just get into it, and we'll go from there, man.
Yeah. So we open the show with John Cena addressing the crowd. Again, the greatest of all time. And we get a quick recap of all that went down on the Grayson Waller effect with him and AJ and the Bloodline and all that good stuff. He welcomes everybody to another sold-out SmackDown. He starts off saying that he's been able to do a lot of things since he came back. He's been a talk show guest. He's been a host. He's been a backstage correspondent. He's been a referee. What? An official. What? A figure who enforces the rules. What? That's all he got. The crowd wins that one. He doesn't have any more to add there. He recaps where he's been since he's come back and that it's all been sold out. But those nights were not like that night. That night is special. He didn't want to be any of those things that he listed earlier, and that he wants to be a competitor. So, tonight's a good night to have a match, eh? And he's saying that he's not just excited. He's also angry. He's angry at the Bloodline. Angry enough to fight both of them. But isn't there 3 in the Bloodline? Unless I don't know how to count. I think there's 3. Unless by both of them he's referring to Jimmy, not in the Bloodline. That could be interesting. But as luck would have it, he has a partner. He has a partner who's as angry as he is. He has a phenomenal partner. AJ Styles, music hits, and he enters. AJ gets right to the point. You want AJ Styles and John Cena versus the Bloodline. Bloodline, you want some? Come get some. Right on cue. Jimmy's music hits and he enters with Solo. I thought it was kind of interesting here that Jimmy's music was the one that plays even though Solo's with him. I don't know what I was expecting there, but I thought it was interesting that this is a theme. Jimmy's kind of taking the reins. No pun intended. This entire show, really. They come down to the ring, get up on the apron, have a quick stare down with Cena and Styles. Cena naturally does the most instinctive thing that his body knows how to do, and that's take his shirt off. Jimmy backs down off the apron, calls Solo down. Solo follows him down, and they leave Cena and AJ in the ring with blue balls. And that's how we open the show.
Yeah, Cena got them Goku instincts because it's not a fight until the shirt's off. Or he's always got to flex on them because that's how because it's not real until the shirt comes off.
That's how I know that they're not going to actually have a match, is because he takes his shirt off. Whereas if they were going to have a match, he would already come out with his shirt off. That's my logic there.
Right. But this was a cute little segment. John Cena comes out hyping it up. He knew all the cities and that they were all sold out because he was counting all them checks and all that merchandise that was going into his bank accounts. He said, man, these past weeks, good God, my checks have been fatter than they've been all year. So you damn well know that he had a list of all that memorized right in his head. Obviously, this is going to lead into a tag team match between the two parties, AJ and Cena versus Solo and Jimmy. As you mentioned, it was kind of a tone all episode of Jimmy kind of trying to assert his dominance almost. Still kind of trying to make it seem like he's part of the team, but almost wanting to take the lead. My guess with his music playing, if we want to play into the whole storyline and, everything's going on behind the scenes, he was like, yo, I'm going out there, get my music ready. Hey, yo, Solo, come with me. And it was kind of a last minute deal. And this also kind of something that we saw throughout the episode is Solo kind of seems to be, further and further off that leash. Paul can't really seem to reel anybody in. And Solo just kind of doing what he wants. He's somewhat listening with Jimmy as well, but he still kind of seems to be just doing Solo things,
This is the most maybe out of control, if you want to put it that way, that the Bloodline has ever been. It feels like nobody's in control. Roman's not in control. Like, if anything, Jimmy's in control right now because he just does whatever he wants to do, and then Solo follows him, and then Heyman is left there saying, but who gave the order? The Bloodline feels like, it really does feel like it's shattered at this point.
Yeah, 100%. And then I saw like a tweet online from the other quote unquote potential members of the Bloodline who are, outside of WWE trying to pitch stories, basically trying to get themselves a job. And hey, I'm all for it. They were talking about, instead of, what was it, tribal combat, it'd be tribal warfare. And you'd have like a Bloodline on Raw, Bloodline on Smackdown. And we got like two warring Bloodline factions, which could be fun, but we'll see. I doubt any of that happens, of course.
Yeah, that one seems like a stretch. I don't think we're gonna get that. I'm not 100% sure where they're taking it, but all I know is that they're gonna drag this shit out for as long as they can because there is nothing that probably brings in attendance and merch sales quite like Roman Reigns and the Bloodline right now, despite the fact that they're fractured. So, I mean, maybe we'll get a conclusion at WrestleMania. Maybe we won't. We'll find out. After this, we get Rey and Santos entering for their match against the Street Profits. But before we get to see the Street Profits entering, we get a quick backstage segment between Adam Pearce, John Cena, and AJ Styles. Cena is telling Pearce that, you heard the crowd. Us versus the Bloodline. We got to do what we got to do to make this happen. Pierce says that he loves it, but when it comes to the Bloodline, things can get a little complicated. AJ chimes in, complicated. Aren't you in charge around here? Pierce knows how things work. When you make a deal with the Bloodline, you deal with Paul Heyman. So let me go look for him and see if we can make this happen. Just some little filler here before we get to the match. You got anything on that? And then honestly, just go right in the match.
Why does Adam Pearce need to talk to somebody, need to talk to Paul Heyman to set some shit up? How many times is he like, you know what? That's a great idea, Miz. The match is up next. And the Miz gets put in some shit match that he didn't want to be in. All of a sudden, you don't have that power, Adam Pearce? And it's AJ Styles and John Cena. What the hell was that about?
It's the Roman influence. That's what it is.
I was baffled by that whole scenario, but I hate how they're like, oh, we're gonna do one person's entrance and then cut to commercial and then come back and here's a backstage segment and then we're gonna go back to the match to another entrance, and it messes my notes up. I don't like it.
Agreed.
But I digress. I do love the Street Profits little outfits that they came out in. Was like royalty. I feel that. I love the tassels on it. They still have their same intro music, and I feel like I thought they're supposed to be heels, and that's kind of a taste of what we get into this match. They kind of answered some of my questions, but these were my thoughts first going into it. Is I thought they were supposed to be heels. They've been beating people up. They came back with Bobby Lashley, who I don't know if he has ever really been the good guy. I figured this music, hyping up the crowd, it doesn't necessarily fit who they're trying to be, but we'll find out more later after this match. But as we do get into the match, it does start off with Santos Escobar and Dawkins starting off the match. Dawkins using his power to grind things out, keeping it slow. He does hit a nice little cartwheel to get out of like a headlock or something that Santos had in on him, but Santos just puts him down for a big drop kick. He does recover quickly from that. Dawkins hits a big right hand to get Tez in, and now Rey Mysterio gets tagged in as well. We get a nice little sequence here where Rey hits a crossbody, sends Dawkins out of the ring, sends Tez over the top rope, runs back, hits a sliding drop kick to knock Tez off of the apron, so both Street Profits are on the outside. Rey Mysterio, classic, then runs back and tries to hit his little baseball slide under the bottom of the underneath the bottom rope splash, but Dawkins pulls Tez out of the way. The pool's empty, and Rey just eats nothingness on the floor on the outside. And then Santos, of course, tries to run around and help him. And Dawkins must have the new addition to Madden because he just trucks this guy. And we get a nice little commercial break. Rey is coming back as we get back from the commercial break, trying to get a pin on Montez Ford. The crowd is chanting for Rey, but Tez is kind of maintaining the momentum. He gets him up in the electric chair, about to, I don't know, hit him with the blockbuster from Dawkins. Maybe they're going to reverse their old finisher. Who knows what he's about to do? But Rey's able to roll through, hit a tijeras, basically, sending Ford face first into the turnbuckle. He gets the tag onto Escobar after fighting and crawling and scratching just to make this tag. And Santos comes in hot, throwing forearms for days, knocking everybody out. He gets up to the top and hits a nice little suck it on Tez before hitting a nice little crossbody. Tez is able to make a comeback, hits a nice standing frog splash before Santos, kicks him to kind of slow things down. Tez does try to go up top. Santos is able to climb up top. They're both standing, and Santos jumps up and does a standing Frankensteiner onto Tez. Oh, it was beautiful straight from the top. It was wild. Santos maintains the momentum, hits a giant double knees in the corner, picks him up, trying to get the Phantom Driver, but he's able to fight out of that. And he's able to tag in Dawkins to get a little reversal of the momentum here before Santos is able to take things over. We then get Ray tagged in, and we just have Dawkins and Ray. Ray is able to hit a nice little DDT, and Dawkins does fall down into the 619 position on the ropes. But as Ray tries to run, nice little camera cut here because they show Dawkins off screen to make it even more of a surprising moment as he eats a sky high from Dawkins, which is basically the spine buster holding him from the waist that D'Lo Brown used to do back in the day. But man, that was beautiful. Puts him down. Wasn't able to get a pin on that. Eventually, Dawkins does send Ray to the outside. The ref does get distracted, and we get the taste of Bobby Lashley. He hits him, not necessarily a choke slam. He just grabs the man in the chest and slams him back first down onto the apron, which we know is the hardest part of the ring. Ref didn't see it. Dawkins hesitates. He's thinking, maybe he doesn't necessarily want to win in this manner, but he decides, hey, we're going to run it. Picks him up for the power bomb, only to eat a sunset flip. 1, 2, 3. Dawkins is pinned by Rey Mysterio because of his hesitation to win from cheating. And that was, kind of what I was leaning towards in the beginning of the match. When we had the entrances, it doesn't seem that they're fully there yet. Bobby Lashley's pissed. He basically says, I want it all back. If y'all can't get it done, I'll find somebody else to get it done, and you can take your ass back to catering. So it sounded like he was done with him. So maybe we'll get the opportunity to see them win their favor of Bobby Lashley once again. Also, at one point, Dawkins threw Rey Mysterio over the top on top of Montez Ford. So I don't know if that will be a taste of dissension, because maybe Tez doesn't have the hesitation. Maybe he's willing to have that killer instinct, that edge, but Dawkins is the one hesitating. Eventually, Tez might turn on Dawkins, and we finally get that singles run. Just some interesting notes that I was thinking at the end of this match.
Yeah, and the first thing that I wrote down after the match was Dawkins ain't cut out to be a heel. Like, that was super obvious. It's left Lashley questioning his decisions and his alliance with them. And even if he didn't want to win that way, like, okay, if you want to say that's what it is, but then he still went for the power bomb afterwards, and then he was going to pin him. So it was like, well, the guy's been punished. I can either pin him or I can punish him more and then pin him. So none of it made sense to me. I want Tez on a singles run, and yes, Tez would have pulled the trigger. I have no doubt in that, but it brings me back to something you said when we first started talking about Tez having a solo push and going down the singles road of the only concern there is if you separate Street Profits, where does Dawkins go? That the dude's just kind of out of the company at that point. Then I hate to say it, but I don't enjoy him in a singles aspect. So where does Dawkins go from here? Yeah,
and man, he's trimmed down. He's added some moves to his move set. He's always had some a nice little move set. He's got the sky high. He hits that little double underhook twisting neck breaker deal. I like the guy, but yeah, I see him I see that WWE sees him as another top dollar, and we saw what happened to him.
Yeah. And he may have dodged this round of cuts, but he may not be dodging the second round. And I don't think Lashley's going to lose any sleep over that. One last thing here is that this is also a theme throughout the night for me. I don't know what was different. I'm usually not the biggest fan of Cole and Graves, but commentary was on fucking fire all goddamn night. They dropped the Ray, the biggest little man in history. And just keep that in mind, that this is a theme for me, this show. Graves and Cole were on fire. So after this match, we get another recap of The Rock's return once again, with now an updated record-setting 153 million social views. That's the cleanest number in history. It's got to be. And while they are discussing that, Theory comes out unhinged and interrupts commentary and is screaming at them, starts throwing shit off of the announce table, and the refs have to come out and chase Theory away. This makes zero sense to me whatsoever, where that came in, why that happened. I mean, I guess I understand, like, you know, The Rock embarrassed him, but this was another, like, what the fuck is going on moment for me. I don't know if it was that way for you.
Look, I don't know what happened. Something happened maybe last week when The Rock came back and he had that promo with Austin Theory and they had a little promo battle. But when Austin Theory came out this week and he did that, I laughed. Like, I didn't feel utter disgust and hatred seeing the presence of this young man on my TV screen, because usually he comes on and I'm like, oh my God, I'm tired of this guy. But he came out there and he was mad because they were talking shit, and I was like, I like that right there. And so I don't know, man. I think pairing him with The Rock showed a little bit of a different side to Austin Theory. And, you know, I don't hate the guy anymore, right?
So I'll reserve some of how I feel about this for the match, because I had a lot of similar feelings. This episode was probably the most I've ever liked Austin Theory. Now, that's not saying a ton, but it is true. After this, I don't know what you want to call it, little interruption by Theory, we get a surprise promo. I was not expecting this promo, but to me, it was promo of the night. So it's Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, and they have this like whole spooky, you know, kind of Alexa Bliss, R.I.P. Fiend vibe of just smoky fogginess. And they start off saying, "Since the beginning of time, magic has been in our blood. We see what others do not. It seems that everyone who has touched the women's tag titles has found misfortune. It's almost like they're cursed. Now, who would go and conjure a spell like that?" Short promo, but I loved it, and I loved that they're taking and running with this whole the women's tags are cursed, and to me, it almost feels like the belts are definitely going to end up on these two at some point to quote unquote break the curse now that they're playing into the storyline.
Yes, oh my God, I love that they made this into a storyline, that this is the route that they're taking. They're eventually going to get those belts. We get to see some mix up with some new faces out here. I'm happy to see it in every way, shape, or form. This is exactly, you know, what we've been asking for.
Yeah, I am excited for it. That single promo was probably what had me the most excited out of the entire show. After this, we end up backstage with Pierce and Theory, and they're arguing about the fact that Theory, quote unquote, hijacked the show. While this is happening, they run into the Brawling Brutes. Ridge is very understanding of why Theory is upset right now. As we all seen, there's 100 million views of Theory getting slapped up and embarrassed by The Rock. Now, Theory claims that he was not embarrassed. Then we get our good old buddy from down under, Waller, coming into the shot, telling Theory, you know, it's good, relax. These guys are just jealous. They don't know what a real star looks like. Butch is here to let them all know that they know something, and that is fighting. And how about they teach A-Town Down Under about fighting tonight? Waller is not a fan of this idea, but Adam Pearce doesn't need to clear this one by anybody and makes it happen. And as we leave the shot, we get Theory just saying over and over, I just had 100 million views. I just had 100 million views. Pierce walks off to go try to find the wise man. And Waller looks at Theory saying, well, now you got 101 million views. So, hey, it looks like Adam Pearce found his balls, man.
Yeah, like he can, again, like now he just has the power. Okay.
Yeah, no Roman here.
Yeah, that's got to be it. That 100% has to be it. But I don't have too much to say on this segment. We're leading into the tag match. They're showing a lot more brawling brutes, so they're giving them a little bit more airtime. Minus Sheamus, I don't know where he's at. Hopefully, just resting up until he gets his Intercontinental run here soon. And we're seeing more of A-Town Down Under. Is it just a storyline, or are they actually gonna maybe become a team? Because I could see them getting tag titles at some point.
I'm for them being a team, actually. I enjoy them together, and to me, Grayson Waller makes Austin Theory so much more likable.
100%, I agree. And let's play, like, we don't have to play Austin Theory's music, by the way. If we play Grayson Waller's music and, he comes out and he like those are little ad libs after anything that Austin Theory says to make it more enjoyable. Oh man, that'd be so palatable at that point.
See, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. And when they did their entrances, obviously Waller came out first, and then Theory came out with the A-Town Down, and like Waller doing shit behind Theory while Theory's doing his, 2 fingers up on each hand, waiting for the down thing. Like, I loved it. I actually want them to keep doing it exactly that way. And I actually feel like it would be the opposite. I would be okay with them just doing the A-Town Down music and, Theory doing his down thing with Waller doing whatever the fuck he does behind him in the background. I found that to be hilarious.
I figure, I don't know. I boogie way too hard to Grayson Waller's music to not hear that on every episode. And one thing missing on this episode, speaking of tag championships, we didn't get any Taste of Judgment Day tonight.
No, I didn't get to add my my local city to the Dom Mysterio Boo rankings, and I was very upset. Although it wasn't. I gotta say, my local Arizonians. I'm originally from Jersey. I'm just gonna say that because I mean, I've been here for a minute, but I ain't from here, you know what I mean? So I don't have to lump myself in with this, being the Hollywood heel that I am. It wasn't as raucous of a crowd as I kind of would have hoped it would have been. I feel like the most rowdy it got was basically just over Cena. But yeah, I didn't get to add Glendale, Arizona to the Boo rankings, unfortunately. After this, we get a promo leading into the women's championship match. We had Asuka and Io, narrated by somebody else, going through Asuka being the Empress of Tomorrow, recapping her record-setting. Was it record-setting?
NXT.
Yeah, her winning streak, all of her accolades. We go through the Genius of the Sky, Io Sky, recapping her career. So my main thing about this was that since it was pre-recorded, I probably would have preferred it to be done similar to how they've been doing the Shinsuke ones. Like, I thought this would have been a really good one, especially with how built up this has been with their history going all the way back. I think it would have been cool to have it be done by Io and Asuka in Japanese with subtitles.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see them talking some more. And it would have been better if this wasn't the only video used to hype it up on the show. My first thoughts when they were doing this, I was like, is the show over already? Because I was like, it feels really quick. I was like, I figured this was going to be the main event. The dream match, as commentary kept repeating over and over and over, but it's just in the middle of the show.
Yeah, to go back to what I said in the beginning, I have no fucking idea why this was not the main event. Even in the beginning of the match, commentary calls the match a dream match. We've all wanted this forever, and I felt like this could have, and it will be again, a PLE match. I have no doubt that these two are going to clash again. Maybe not before Charlotte gets her stab at it, but it will happen again, and it'll probably. This was a great match. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but why? Why is it not the main event? You want to tell me that a tag team between Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, and the Brawling Brutes are going to be the main event? I understand that the show ended on a segment, as it seemingly does a lot now when it comes to bloodline shit, but why the fuck was this not the main event?
Yeah, super weird. I don't know what they're thinking over there, why they did this. I feel like it kind of lessened the value of the title, and then even the ending as well. It just kind of for me, but was a decent match all around.
Yeah, so that takes us into the match. So go ahead and run through it, man.
So right before we actually get into the match, we randomly had Charlotte coming out, and I was just praising Charlotte for falling into the background and letting other people take the shine. And I don't even think it's been a week before she said psych, and here she is in the title picture. Why? I don't know, but I get, we should have expected it, because what's new?
I missed her more than I thought I would have.
I don't know. We'll see what we get next. We've already seen Asuka Charlotte. We've already seen Io Charlotte. I guess we get to see, well, spoiler alert, we get to see Bayley Charlotte, which I don't think we've seen in a long time, if you know what I'm saying, but that should be fun in itself. And now they're on opposite sides, because that was back when Bayley was a face and Charlotte was the heel. So that could be cool. But
what, you don't want to see Dakota Kai Charlotte?
Is she even cleared?
She's cleared to not really do anything to help anyone ever.
Yeah, I feel like she's not medically cleared to do anything, and she ain't getting involved nowhere, no how. I don't know. They're eventually going to split that group up. They're just waiting on the right moment in time.
Yeah.
I'll jump right through this match. It does start off Asuka and Io, both great technicians in the ring. They both start off fighting over wrist control, kind of showing off, getting some headlocks, alternating, exchanges. Basically what you can do, I can do better. We do get some arm drag attempts before we get a nice second rope arm drag from Io to Asuka, which eventually sends Asuka out of the ring. Io on the apron tries to hit her springboard moonsault onto the outside, but Asuka is able to move out of the way, knowing her opponent so well, and hits a nice kick before we get into a little commercial break. Right back from the commercial break, they are fighting up top. Looks like Io Sky is about to get superplexed, but Io jumps off and drags down Asuka's arm into the ropes. And we don't really see that play into the match. She kind of looks like she potentially injures her arm, but that doesn't really tie into anything. I guess maybe trying to weaken the arm that she does use for the Asuka lock, which would have helped her, but it didn't look like that did too much damage throughout the course of the match. At this point, Io does hit some lovely shotgun drop kicks right off the top rope, basically springboard style. And instead of hitting her classic 619 Tiger Fade kick when Asuka is hanging into the ropes, she kind of slides on her back underneath the bottom rope and hits basically like a recoil up kick into Asuka. Nice little twist on it. I feel like if she did it a little faster, it looked better, but something interesting that she busted out here. Sky tries to go back up top and eventually gets knocked down, stomach first, onto the ropes. She's hanging down off the turnbuckle, and Asuka is just kicking her in the head. Lovely opportunist that Asuka is, kicking her right in the head. She eventually gets her back up top and finally gets that big superplex onto Io Sky. Takes her time getting to the pin, so she was only able to get a 2 count. A little bit of a back and forth. Io hits a nice Shote palm strike in the midst here as they're fighting over a German before Io is finally able to hit a nice bridging German right onto Asuka. But Asuka, relentless, after she, gets out of the 2 count of that pinfall, she does get a Kimura onto Io Sky before turning it into an armbar. And at this point, that's kind of where the match goes. Asuka is trying to get a submission in, and Io is just trying to fight out of it. Asuka does gain some momentum. She herself hits a big top rope shotgun dropkick, sending Io into the corner, follows that up with a quick hip attack, does her nice little pop-up knee before just hitting a flurry of strikes, sending Io down to the ground where she barely is able to get up on her knees, and she eats a fat shining wizard to the face for a 2 count by Asuka. Asuka quickly gets her into a Fujiwara armbar, and for some reason just decides to let it go and goes back up top, assumingly going for another shotgun drop kick. But at this point, Io is able to get up and kick Asuka right off the sitting on the top rope. She kicks her right off. Asuka's now standing on the apron, and things get a little dicey. She's got her hands on the middle rope kind of bent over, and Io jumps through over her back, flipping over almost into a sunset powerbomb, but Asuka's holding on to the middle rope. Both her legs split open, and she's barely maintaining her balance while she holds onto the rope. I don't know if she was supposed to get the bomb there, but she had a lot of momentum, and man, she would have put some damage onto her. But Asuka, as much as she fights, she's not able to hold on long, and eventually gets powerbombed off the apron right onto the floor. At this point, they're fighting outside. Asuka's able to get up and tries to kick Io, but she ends up kicking the post. Io then is able to climb up top while Asuka's hurt and hits a nice blind moonsault to the outside. She almost missed her on this one. Maybe you could look in midair, but she didn't look back at all. She just jumped up to the top rope, hyped the crowd up, and just sent it. And man, that's a lot of faith in the opponent there. Props on both of them on that situation. As we get back in, Io has the control now. Got a nice little weird submission, just kind of pulling the back, bending the neck of Asuka here. Asuka then rolls through. She kicks out and eats another bridging German. Io is trying to get a crossface at this point. Then they're just fighting in the middle of the ring. She rolls through for a pin, transitions the pin into the Asuka lock in the middle of the ring. Io is able to turn that into a pin, but Asuka lets go of her, stands right up and hits the old school buzzsaw kick right to the head of Io Sky for another nice little 2 count. Asuka then, eventually gets up to the top rope, hits another shotgun drop kick, and man, they were just dropping these kicks to each other's chest all match. They both really enjoyed that. We do get a flying armbar by Asuka back onto Io, and now we get more into the just submission grind. She fights into an armbar, into an Asuka lock. Io's fighting, they're rolling around. Io is trying to fight her off. She's trying to bend her arm, fight, keep her from getting the full Asuka lock in. Eventually gets some back elbows to fight out, but eventually gets put down right back in the middle of the ring. The ref is distracted, and Bayley is able to sneak in and grab the foot of Io Sky and place it on the rope. She then gets the ref's attention, who allows the rope break, and very quickly Charlotte's in there to drop Bayley down. Asuka, confused, wondering how she was able to get out of that submission. She's leaning on the ropes and just eats 2 fat knees to the back of the head, lays down. Io Sky up top for the moonsault. 1, 2, 3. She takes the win.
Yes, sir. That last over the moonsault, she almost missed that one too. Her moonsaults were a little bit off. I think one of the things that I was most surprised with was obviously there was the interference towards the end that it influenced the match, but considering how crowded the outside of the ring was, I was actually kind of shocked that there wasn't more interference. It just kind of like struck me as odd, especially with Charlotte coming down. Like, I almost expected like a Nia Jax moment of where Charlotte just is like, fuck this and takes them both out or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess Nia Jax is like, you can just come back and be on whatever show you want. I guess she didn't want to be on both shows because I feel like she could have showed up here and did something.
I was kind of waiting for that. But maybe the queen put her foot down and the queen's like, no, I'm not the one getting injured.
I feel like that had something to do with it.
Possibly. We shall see. But yeah, it was a great technical match. Obviously, these two are really paired well together. I do want more of this. I did not think that Io was going to drop the belt tonight, especially with Fastlane coming up. I mean, I don't even know if she has a match at Fastlane. I'm sure we'll find out. I would not be shocked if she's fighting like Charlotte at Fastlane or something. We shall see. But it was a good match. And again, why was it not the main event? That's the main takeaway I had from this was why. Commentary did all right. I'll make a critique of commentary here since I usually do, and I'm going to praise them quite a bit more later. At one point, they were like, "Yeah, Io should play to her strengths and take this whole fight to the air," and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense because Asuka essentially needs to be like knocked out on the ground for Io to do anything in the air. It's not like they fucking both just levitate and then they do kung fu in the fucking air, like take this fight to the air. I was just like, what does that even mean?
Yes, dude. Yeah, no. They needed him to levitate. They're both going to go in slow motion and just do like a crane kick battle while both floating in midair. You know what I'm saying? They got that shit down.
Yeah, they gotta, that's what Io needs to do to fight to her strengths is, we both gotta just take this whole thing to the air. Weird moment. After this match, we end up backstage with the Bloodline. And so, again, Jimmy is taking a pseudo leadership role this whole time. And, before I get into the details of the segment, we've never seen Jimmy be this like forthright. He's always kind of been a bit of the backseat to either Jay or just the rest of the Bloodline or whatnot. And it gives me like, it's like you and a bunch of work friends go out and have drinks together for the first time, and then like the kind of quiet dude gets really fucking drunk, and then you see a side of him that you ain't ever seen before, and you're like, what like what does this dude have in him? Like Jimmy is just owning the whole thing. So they come into the scene and it's usually what we'll see of like Roman sitting there and then they're all like either behind or around him, but everybody's focused on Roman and Roman just has the aura. But this time it's like Jimmy sitting there with like the "this is my shit" aura. Adam Pearce comes in to see them, contract in hand, and presents it to Heyman as discussed. Heyman says that he doesn't care as long as the match is not tonight. As long as it's not tonight, he's fine with it. Pearce confirms it is not tonight. It is at Fastlane. That startles Heyman a little bit. Who made that decision? Pearce just wants his approval. Jimmy, in that leadership role, looks good to me, Oos. We'll be out there in the ring to sign it. Yeet! Pearce leaves. Heyman looks at Jimmy and saying, Jimmy, usually decisions like this, they need approval. They need authorization from the tribal chief first. Jimmy smiles it off. Yeah, let me know what he says, OG. Jimmy leaves. Solo, in his own little fucking lane, is saying, yeah, don't worry about it. After tonight, there won't be nobody left to fight us at Fastlane. And then Solo leaves. And Heyman's just left there. His lovely line of, but who gave that order? Call Roman Reigns. Again, man, the bloodline is just like, it's fractured. Everybody's going off in their own fucking direction, it feels like.
Yeah, and here, this gave me a little thought of maybe all along Solo is just, playing backseat, pretending to fall in line, but he's planning everything himself. He's like, yeah, let's let Jimmy go on, because eventually Jimmy's going to help me get rid of these people, and there's not going to be anybody in my way to eventually, take charge of the bloodline. I don't know. I feel like we're still seeing more hidden thoughts of Solo until the day when he finally says more than one sentence and he tells everybody how he is the true Solo chief or something along those lines. It's going to be great. I think it's coming soon. I did think that this was a very cute little segment. I love how what is Jimmy on? Like, he's just hype, but like a different type of hype, not the normal hype that he's been on. He's like mentally snapped almost. I do love that he keeps saying yeet. I need more of that. He just needs to say it like 4 times in a segment just for no reason. And we need Finn Balor saying my dog more often as well. Let's just all the time. Like, you don't even got to say real promos. Just throw that in there like 8 times. I think it'll be quality content. But obviously Paul is still, oh no, guys. So he had to call homeboy, and I'll get into more thoughts on the bloodline later, because we got a lot to talk about them later.
Yeah, and I'll just say at this point, like, every segment I fully expect Solo to spike somebody, and like, it would not shock me. He could literally spike anyone, and I would not be shocked. He could spike Heyman. He could spike Jimmy. He could spike Roman. He could fucking spike himself. Like, nothing would surprise me. Literally, the dude is always just a spike about to happen.
One spike away.
One spike away. So before we get to fight night, we get a promo. Definitely Henron's favorite promo of the night. From Pretty Deadly. So it starts off all theatric. We get a solo shot of Kit, and he's saying, the great Olivia Rodrigo once said, God, it's brutal out here. On the 14th of July, that sentiment echoed for the entire WWE universe as Elton Prince suffered a catastrophic shoulder injury. A shoulder injury that actually left him in a wheelchair, in case we all forgot. And now, Elton Prince walks a long, difficult road to recovery. And as he's saying this, we realize that it's Elton in the background. He's fumbling for his drink, which he knocks off the table next to him, in which he exclaims, Kit, I dropped my drink. Kit rushes to his aid. We get a lovely vignette of various shots of Elton rehabbing his injury, including working out with a shake weight, some tennis ball action, building up like, Rocky training for a fight, essentially, but in a pretty deadly manner. Yes, boy. We get the doctor on screen that chimes in to say that, Elton has a separated shoulder, but he's fine. Then we get back to Kit talking to Elton. He's saying, look, this whole thing, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really, really hard, but you're going to work at it every single day. And I'm going to be here too, because I want you to get better. Elton is taken aback. That's beautiful, man, but you're on my hair. We get a screen that says, the long road to recovery continues. #Elton Strong. And Corey Graves chimes in with a brilliant line here. I haven't been that inspired since I saw Brian's song. Was this the promo of the night for you? Yes, boy?
Oh my God. Yes, boy. This was fucking perfect. It's like a fucking Sarah McLachlan, like in the arms of the angels commercial. It was spot on amazing. The fact that he's trying to recover and the first thing he grabbed was a shake weight. That was amazing. I loved that when they were showing him trying to walk and he had on some Nike Dry Fit socks. I got a couple pair of those. Quality sock. I will give a shout out to the Nike Dry Fit. I love how he's trying to be a doctor and he's just smacking him in the knee and he hits him too hard, so he kicks him. And why can't this guy walk? What the whole wheelchair bit is great. The doctor's like, he's fine. And just the thing that ended it for me, where he's like, this whole thing is going to be hard, but he's going to work at it every day. Hashtag Elton Strong. So, hashtag Elton Strong, everybody.
Stay strong like Elton. It's going to be a long road, but we're all going to get there. And after this, we finally get to our main event, the esteemed, the storied main event of A-Town Down Under versus the Brawling Brutes. Take it away, my friend.
So this match starts off with Austin Theory and Butch in the ring. Theory kind of goes hard, gets some nice chops in, takes him down with the big clothesline, and gets an early tag on Waller. They got some nice tag team action. They were getting some good tags, keeping the opponents on their side of the ring when they could. Waller gets in some nice knee strikes, has Butch in a nice cravat, front cravat. At this point, Butch is able to do his little finger twists, get himself out of that hold before doing a nice little, stomp to the elbow that he does in classic Butch fashion. At this point, he tags in Ridge the Fridge, who grabs his front face lock and hits his little helicopter spin. Man, I love that move. It doesn't look like it feels good either, but I believe he puts an arm underneath the other guy's arm, so it's not fully on the neck and under the chin, because I'm sure you just pull a guy's head off by doing that. I think it might just pop off. I'm not a doctor. I think that might happen. But he does get him with a nice double underhook butterfly suplex, holds him up for a minute, and I don't know if he put him down because he was just coming down and he said, I'm just going to do it anyways, or if he wanted to put him down, look at the crowd, and then hit the suplex. Either way, it still worked out. It was pretty nice. So, Ridge, the Fridge, as commentary keeps calling him. I mean, he is built like a fridge. The guy's strong, and I'm enjoying seeing the Brawling Brutes getting a little bit more action. But we do get Butch back in, who continues to maintain control of the match until Austin Theory pulls the rope and Butch just kind of slides out. At this point, Waller does go outside with him. He tries to get the outside clothesline on Butch. Butch dodges, ending up into the ring bell area. And then Austin Theory is just helpless, standing on the apron. And then both of A-Town Down Under get caught from behind, and we get a nice little 10 beats of the baton. I don't know what the hell this move is actually called, right? That Sheamus used to do. But they just panned on these men's chests for a little bit. Some great action there. Leading into a commercial break, of course. As we come back from the commercial break, Theory is just on top of Butch, and he's just beating the hell out of this guy, and he's just pissed as hell. So I don't know what happened. The one thing that we did see during the commercial break, there was a blind tag, and Theory was able to, surprise Butch by getting his rolling jump into the drop kick, which looks very nice. I feel it's a little convoluted, especially since it looked like Butch had to stop and wait for him to fully get that, and he might have been able to move out of the way, but he still caught him, and it still looked nice. We get a little bit of a back and forth. Eventually, Waller ends up back in the ring, and Waller himself is trying to do the 10 beats down on Butch, but Butch does the classic finger break. And back in the day, he used to somehow make it sound like the fingers were actually breaking. I wouldn't say he slapped his thigh because both of his hands are holding somebody else's hand, but that was the sound that was made, and it added a lot of effect. I don't know how it occurred and why it stopped. I wish they brought it back because that was very nice in my opinion. But Butch is able to gain the control at that point. We do get right back into it. We do get a nice tag to Theory as Ridge is in there. And we get what was my favorite move of the night, a double chop block by A-Town Down Under to the back of the knees of Ridge Holland. And if you actually double chop block somebody like that, wouldn't you just literally demolish every tendon, muscle, and everything within your knee? I think your whole career in walking might just be over with. But they took that man out, and we didn't. And he did come right back after that. We do get some action between Butch and Waller. At this point, Waller does get sent out. He tries to do his roll inside into the stunner, but Ridge is able to get up and hit him with the pounce out of midair. Beautiful. He then does catch Theory, traps both arms for another beautiful over the head. Well, no, this was the over the head belly to belly that he hit on Waller later. Theory was standing up on the rope, and he was able to grab Theory into the over the head press slam for the 2 count, while Butch just randomly hits a moonsault to Waller on the outside. Pretty wild as well, just taking these blind moonsaults to the outside. The cameraman almost missed it until they hit the wide shot on that. But as we get into the finish here, which was my favorite part here, Theory and Ridge are going back and forth. Ridge eventually gets him over the shoulders, holding his legs, and hits a nasty Alabama slam, which just the ricochet of slamming the back of your head and that momentum onto the mat, that's gotta suck. Austin Theory is able to kick out, but Ridge turns him over into the Boston Crab. He's bending down on this man, looking like the walls of Jericho, and we still have Butch and Waller on the outside. Butch grabs him into a sleeper, basically trying to keep him out of the ring, hoping that Ridge can get the submission victory. But Waller, being the crafty young man that he is, sends Butch back first into the outside of the post, getting him off of him. He's then able to hit his rolling stunner from the outside to the inside while Ridge is sitting down into the Boston Crab. Was a beautiful move right there. And then Austin Theory is able to get him up. A-Town down, 1, 2, 3. Austin Theory gets the pin over Ridge Holland.
Yeah, and like I said, man, I could kind of get used to this. This made me not really hate Theory. And like I didn't realize it was happening until like we were halfway through the match, and I'm like, I don't want to throw something at my television or get up and leave the room every time this kid's face is on my fucking TV screen. So I mean, if we got to credit Grayson Waller with that, I guess we credit Grayson Waller with that.
Yeah, like I felt like this was a very action-packed match. There was a lot going on. You know, I got jumbled up a little bit there, but man, I'd love to see more of both teams, you know, because they gave us some good showcase action of Ridge Holland. You know, he's got a nice little hot tag. He's very strong, can throw some people around. I do love seeing the pairing between A-Town Down Under. I'd like this, and it was a clean victory, so this probably is going to put a pin in that feud. But don't we have a special guest on the Waller Effect coming up sometime soon? Or
I don't remember who's coming up next, to be honest with you.
But I'd like to see where they take these individuals next. I don't know exactly where they're going to go, but I can see them getting titles when we eventually split the tag belts.
Yeah, they don't feel like unified champions. But then again, fucking everybody's unified champion at this point. Corey Graves had a handful of great lines in this match. To me, commentary almost made this match. You know, he opens up with, you know, you thought Taylor Swift was exciting. Wait until you see Grayson Waller. I don't even remember how it happened, but they were talking about Cole was like trying to poke holes into something, you know, whether he was trying to find a hole and Corey Graves just hits him with you're a habitual hole searcher. And how they kept straight faces at that. I don't know, because I would have lost it, dude. Like, I couldn't even say it without laughing. And it just happened off the cuff. A habitual hole searcher. I'm going to have to use that saying in real life. And then there would just had a handful of hole comments after that. Commentary, Graves and Cole, you guys were on your fucking A game tonight.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Graves and Cole. Graves always finds a way to crack me up, and I wouldn't necessarily say like I'm a big fan of Cole, but the interaction between the two makes me a fan of Cole. You know?
Yeah, that was, like I said, habitual hole searcher is going to officially enter my regular vernaculary. After this, we end up in the ring with Adam Pearce. Pearce is addressing everybody. It is now time to make official one of our 2 main events at WWE Fastlane. Do you know what the other one is?
No clue. I mean, probably Seth Shinsuke, but they haven't told us yet.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't remember, the quote unquote main events being announced yet. So I found it interesting that they were making official one of our 2 main events when we don't even know what the actual other one is yet. Again, assuming that it might be Seth Shinsuke, but we'll find out in like 2 weeks. So Pierce continues, allow me to introduce the greatest of all time, John Cena. I'm not gonna lie, man. I love Cena coming back and all. The GOAT thing is getting kind of old fast because they're beating the shit out of it. After Cena, his music hits, obviously, pop from the crowd. He's already been out there for 20 minutes tonight, so it doesn't need the biggest pop in the world. After Cena makes his entrance, he introduces AJ Styles, the Phenomenal One. AJ's music comes on, and he doesn't come out. This is when we cut to backstage with Jimmy Uso beating the shit out of AJ Styles. Cena immediately rushes to the back to help. Didn't take his shirt off this time, so I guess he didn't actually plan on really helping, because we know that he can't, hit Super Saiyan with a shirt on. While he's beating down AJ, we get a shot of Solo kind of up there in the back, and then Jimmy tosses AJ, and Solo just kind of stares there for a minute and then hits a giant splash, what easily has to be 15 feet up in the air, onto out of camera, but assuming that it's on top of a bunch of road cases for the production gear, a huge loud bang. When you finally get to see AJ, he appears to be unconscious. This shit was over dramatic as fuck, because you got sparks going off in the background 15 feet away from Solo jumping off. That was, the spark thing was weird to me. They were just being super extra. And then we go to break. And then we come back from break with AJ Styles on a stretcher heading to an ambulance. We got Carl Anderson standing there saying, this is what I've been saying the whole time. It's what I've been saying the whole time, man. It's what I've been saying the whole time. And then he turns to John Cena. John, I've been telling him not to get involved with this bloodline stuff. And then we cut out to Heyman walking out into the ring with super mega swag walk. This is probably the swaggiest walk I've ever seen Heyman have, and he has some pretty swaggy walks. And they let Heyman get out to the ring before Solo and Jimmy come out. When they get out there, get into the ring, Solo immediately just starts losing his shit and throws literally everything out of the ring. All the chairs, the table, if it's not nailed down, it's gone. You got Heyman looking around like, dude, what is going on? This guy's fucking crazy, man. Eventually, Heyman gets on the mic and he says, ladies. And then the boos just really start to intensify before he can finish the sentence. So he looks around and he says, they boo ladies in Arizona. Apparently we do. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is, and usually, we get the crowd saying it with them, except this time the boos just get even louder. Is Paul Heyman, he says by himself. You can boo my kosher tuchus as far as I'm concerned. Lo and behold, I have in my hands a contract signed by the second greatest of all time, John Cena, without any tag team partner for Fastlane. I think he was going to say more, but we'll never know because Jimmy just snatches the mic right out of Heyman's hands. And I'm pretty sure at this point, like 99.9% sure, the crowd was chanting Rocky and it got pretty loud. This will return. Jimmy starts addressing everybody. Well, look what happens when you mess with the bloodline. Hey, yo, John, if you're smart like you say you're smart, you would jump your ass in the ambulance with AJ Styles and go far, 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 far away from the bloodline. John gonna end up in an ambulance anyway. He walks over to Heyman. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. Pointing, laughing at Heyman. Dude, Jimmy's totally fucking up to something. Like there's no other reason why he's so over the top. He pipes up and he says, John, check this out, Oos. Been wanting to tell you this. You the twos and we the ones. This is when Cena comes out. Solo meets him on the entrance ramp, but he still gets taken out anyway. Cena jumps in the ring, takes Jimmy out. Solo jumps back into the ring. Cena gets him up for an AA, but before he can bring him down, Jimmy super kicks him in the face. Jimmy is trying to tell Solo to spike Cena. The crowd, we got chanting Rocky again. It's just going crazy. Solo finally actually spikes Cena. And then Jimmy and Solo just keep stomping him while he's down. And I don't know what was going on here. We kept getting these weird crowd shots where like they would cut the audio of what was the boom mics or whatever they usually have picking up the ring audio. And then they would cut to like live shots of the crowd. And then you would just get crowd noise. And then you'd get a quick thing in the ring. Like, I don't know what was going on there. It was ultimately, while I think they were trying to position Cena at this point, and I don't know if something weird was happening in the ring that they had to like pull the camera away or, maybe somebody was flashing some titties. I don't know what was going on, but it was a weird moment. We come back eventually to the ring. Cena's in position. Jimmy hits him with an Uso splash. Jimmy signs a contract, hands it to Solo, who also signs a contract. Jimmy slaps the contract down on Cena's corpse before hitting him with another Uso splash. And that's the show.
Oh man. So I got a few things. This is a long segment because basically the end of the show they had to send it home. Good things to know now. I'm going to jump back to right before we actually got into this. Bobby Lashley is going to be on the Grayson Waller effect next week.
Oh.
So it looks like we might be getting Street Profits versus A-Town Down Under. And I can see that maybe being another Street Profits loss, and maybe that's where we actually see the tag team split. Because I don't foresee them winning as heels over a heel team. That just seems like kind of weird to me. But we'll see. I feel like this probably is leading all to Tez on a singles run. But that's what I was trying to remember earlier. But this was great. Yes, we have the greatest of all time, John Cena, who signed the contract before his music even finished. Big mistake right there. Yes, AJ Styles, like, he played that so well. He was just dead. He didn't move after he ate that splash. I love when they make this shit so dramatic, man. I love it. There was no reason for those random sparks to go off on that electrical equipment. Like, it was just fucking panic. And they're like, fuck it, dude, send the sparks, dude, send some more panic. They should have had like I don't know, like Seth just up here yelling at Adam Pearce, like, I want to wrestle Shinsuke. Like, just add more chaos. Where's Chelsea Green at? You know, just for no fucking reason.
Where's Nia Jax? This was her moment.
It really is. She should have came back there and just started throwing people around. But there was just so much panic backstage. It was kind of wild. They show AJ on the stretcher, and cool little stretcher. You know, got the little hydraulics. I think stretchers are cool. Like just the whole concept of, and the bottom lifts up, like because they don't want it to. They got to match the height. I don't know. I like that technology. I think that's fascinating. Small things that make me smile. But yeah, we got Anderson out there. You know, oh man, I know he shouldn't have got involved in all of this. Where was Gallows? I don't think we're gonna see Gallows and Anderson trying to make good. Oh, we're gonna stand up for our boy, and we're gonna get a tag team match where obviously Bloodline's gonna win, and that'd be a nice little transition match. But they're not gonna stick up for their boy. And I'm again not saying I want anybody out of the company. I love the Good Brothers, right? I'm big fans. You know, I love me some Big Daddy Dangle. But I feel like those are names that I'm surprised weren't on the list of cuts as well, because we haven't really seen anything from them too much. I guess they are chilling with homeboy AJ, but WWE clearly doesn't care about cutting people who are in the middle of storylines, because there are prime examples of that just occurred. Yes, the crowd was chanting Rocky a lot, and nobody on the Bloodline has acknowledged that The Rock was even on SmackDown, like at all whatsoever. I feel like maybe I'm just making stuff up in my head. Maybe that's a touch on something as well. I feel like one mistake on the Bloodline, they gave the contract back to Cena. So they both signed it, and Cena, you know, his partner didn't sign it, but you gave the contract back to him so he can go give it to anybody that he wants, potentially The Rock. What if we can't see them, The Rock versus Solo and Jimmy? Obviously, that's not going to happen at Fastlane, right?
No. Not even like WrestleMania is the only thing that could happen at.
But I'm just saying, like, why did like that? They're probably not going to play into it, but like, how do you give the man back the contract? He can just fix this, right? And you know,
you know who is due to come back, and the reports are he's looking more jacked than ever.
Don't say the Viper.
The Viper, Randy Orton, supposedly is still working to get fully medically cleared, but I guess the dude has literally just lived in the gym this entire time, and I have seen multiple reports saying that the dude is a monster right now.
That could be wild. Have we seen Randy Orton versus Bloodline Roman Reigns? We probably happened, but I don't remember it.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I do know that I want it.
That does, especially now, that does sound fun. But he'd have to make friends to fight the Bloodline, and
yeah, John Cena.
Yeah, but John Cena's going to be gone.
And AJ Styles.
Yeah, I guess AJ Styles. And they have some history too.
Yeah.
Spicy.
We shall see. But the door is wide open, man, for a partner.
100%. And I'm going to get back into some comments on this segment as well. Jimmy is becoming more unhinged. The way he snatched that mic from Paul Heyman, that was basically like snatching the mic from Roman Reigns. Because you know what Roman says, you know, Paul, if they disrespect you, they disrespect me. And if they disrespect me, they disrespect the bloodline. Paul, and you're going to let that happen? When's Roman coming back, man? I need that. And I did love the second splash at the end with the contract on top. That was the extra 10 points of damage to really put him down. But my two thoughts on why we had those weird camera cuts at the end. Did a fan run in? Because usually they don't like to like publicize that, because then it encourages people, because then they got on to be on TV, and they didn't do any in-shot rings. Jimmy was just sitting up there. there's no way like John was just rolling around not in position like this whole time. And I did see somebody like out on the ground when Jimmy was first on the top rope, and Jimmy kind of looked at him like come on, like it looked like a ref. It looked like that female ref, and he was talking to the ref. But I don't know. I wish there was like, I was trying to look on Twitter or on X for a little bit, but I couldn't find in my short search in arena shot of what the hell happened.
Yeah, I feel like if that was the case, we probably would have seen something about it on Twitter. But yeah, that was just a whole weird segment. It reminded me of like the you are an asshole shit with the bad audio pipe in, but like this was audio and video cut. It was super herky jerky and awkward, and something was happening that they didn't want us to see.
100%. I'm gonna try to do some more research. But did you catch some of the other stuff that we have going on next week? I know we got Lashley on the Grayson Waller effect. We do get a match between Charlotte and Bayley, but I can't recall. And then we also have the U.S. title match between Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio. Any thoughts on those three items?
Well, first off, I mean, we've been on a trend of like 3 matches, so that's probably the entire card right there. I do think that the title will probably change hands. I think it'll go to Escobar. I would not be shocked if it ends up going to Escobar because of Dom somehow. Dom shows up and spoils it for his pops, even though he doesn't have any love for Escobar either. The Charlotte Bayley match, I'm looking forward to that. Like, if you're gonna give us 3 matches, at least make it like 3 good and interesting ones. So I think that will be the case here. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I feel like a lot of these shows have felt very like the last 2 or 3 shows, both Raw and SmackDown, have felt very like disjointed, like kind of all over the place, shit happening out of order, weird stuff going on. Even down to the little things of like even more like what we were complaining about earlier, more things of like one person will make an entrance and then it won't even necessarily be like backstage. They'll just play like a promo that's completely unrelated to what's going on. And then back to the match. And it's just like really kind of confusing. So my gut says that there's a lot of like last minute changes and a lot of like just turn around and do something different. So at this point, I don't know what the fuck to expect. I suppose I'm more looking towards, we got No Mercy coming up. We already talked about some of that. And some of what we know of Fastlane. Obviously, we don't know nearly everything at Fastlane. I think we really only like solidly know about 2 or 3 matches at this point. So the whole card there has really got to fill out. We'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like in that Bayley match, we're probably going to get interference from Io Sky, which is going to lead to Charlotte somehow getting another title match. I feel like
Asuka too. I would expect both of them to interfere.
Yeah. I feel like Io's going to interfere, and then Asuka's going to come out when they're doing like a 2v1 or a 3v1 on Charlotte, and we're going to end up with like a 3-way match. Or some nonsense or at
Fastlane we end up with like Charlotte Asuka versus Io Bayley.
I could see that too, and then that's kind of what I was thinking as well. If they weren't going to take it towards a tag team or a title match, but I hope they put a little bit of a stipulation on there. I don't want to see just a regular women's tag title match that literally has nothing on the line, and they'll never be going for the women's tag titles. I feel like that's kind of whack.
Yeah, that might be more of like a television match, maybe a future Smackdown.
for sure. And then I think that we probably will see the title change on Santos, but I somehow hope that it does all end up with Dom taking that title. Just give it to Dom then. Shit, man. Give him both American titles and he's the champion of America and people can hate him even more. Like, I just get it out of LWO. I'm kind of over them.
I don't think Santos Escobar will hold it very long. But I mean, we saw a very noticeable absence from SmackDown. This is the first time that we haven't had LA Knight in a while. I know that there's been a lot of talks about where they're at with his contract. I remember reading something about Triple H, saying like the dude's my age. So like, I don't know if LA Knight is trying to demand a huge contract, which, he should right now. The dude's super over. He has the entire WWE universe eating out of his palm. Everything he touches is gold right now. So yeah, get that money. But at the same time, I also understand the company playing hardball in that instance of like, okay, yeah, the dude's 40 years old and he's never been over until now. That's not necessarily a great sign for longevity from a business standpoint. So I understand both sides on that. So if I recall, he's still under contract, maybe even until 2025. But they've been trying to nail down an extension, but obviously they're on two completely different wavelengths right now. I don't think that's why he wasn't there, but that is also something to keep in mind is his happiness moving forward. I don't see him in another company. No, that's the thing. Like some of these other companies would demand probably more of him in ring, but whatever. Thankfully, we had no Miz. I was very gracious about that. So watch next SmackDown. It's like all LA Knight Miz.
Yeah, I feel you. And my final comments in regards to these shows. Number one, I believe there were last minute changes because LA Knight has COVID. I believe that's the most recent reports that I had read online because I do believe he was supposed to be there, but at the last minute he found out he had COVID and couldn't obviously perform. So I think that's that. And at least the past two episodes of Raw and SmackDown for sure. Before these weeks, we were hyping up WWE. We were praising them because these were some of the best episodes of Raw and SmackDown we had seen in a while. It was action. It was flowing. It made sense. They were amazing episodes, and every week it felt like if it wasn't getting better, it was just as good. And not at all these past two episodes have we commented anything resembling what we stated previously. So it's just, I don't know exactly what's happened, what's changed, who's done what, where, if it's cuts, if it's TKO, if it's sickness, who knows what it might be. But let's just hope they pick things up because now we're actually getting into pay-per-view, a PLE. And, we need to build things. We don't have a real PLE. And we had a lot of excitement on NXT. It looked like NXT. We can see that going somewhere this time, right? But you can't leave your two main shows behind.
Bro, we're tripping. Like, we're both fucking idiots right now. We don't know, but we know who Cena's partner is going to be. It's going to be L.A. Knight. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was just beefing with them. So there's going to be the surprise contract.
Yeah. And they shared that, like, that handshake at the end of the match, Cena and LA Knight after the Miz match. Like,
yep.
That's the obvious answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the RKO thing would have been cool, but at this point I'm feeling like 90% sure that it's going to be LA Knight. I don't know why it took me so long to say that.
Because he wasn't on the episode and, you take a day off and all of a sudden the world forgets about you.
Yeah, man, those merch sales really took a hit.
Oh man, why don't you take us home, good sir? Or actually, you got any final comments on the show before we take it home, good sir?
Not really. I think that's pretty much it. We have some exciting stuff to look forward to coming up with No Mercy. And then basically, we got one episode each on the main roster before we end up in Fastlane. So we got pretty much back-to-back PLEs here. Some things to look forward to. Still some fleshing out to do with honestly both shows, because obviously we know more of the No Mercy card, but we still need to figure out the Dom was supposed to fight Mustafa Ali situation. That's still yet to be ironed out. Although theoretically, now I'm just making this longer than it needs to be because I'm speculating. What if Ray drops the belt to Santos and then Ray shows up and then it's Dom Ray at No Mercy?
That could be fun. I'd love to see that. Give him the title, put some more hype on NXT, and give somebody a chance on the main roster to distract everybody from Rey Mysterio being Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things to still find out. Some things we know, some things we don't. That's how it goes. But as my dog over here likes to say, you are all very welcome for being blessed with our divine voices this evening, this morning, however you're all listening. And I would just like to say, deuces, oozes.